Hey, what's up friends? Welcome back to the budget hardtail build series. Today we'll be taking the parts bin and the new parts and dry fitting them onto the budget hardtail to see what it looks like and feels like, and to also confirm and make sure that we'll have a finished product whenever I get into painting the frame. I would hate to paint the frame and put all that time and effort in and not have all the parts that are necessary to finish off the build series. So let's go ahead and grab the parts that I need. Some of them are in my house, and then I'm gonna pan up and show you the frame as it sits right now and just do one finalized thing to strip it down completely. So if you want to keep on watching this build series and see what happens with this budget mountain bike build, then just hit the subscribe button and stay tuned. So as it sits currently, we just have that little kickstand there to get off, and I went ahead, loosened it up to remove any of the hassle out of getting it off. It should just simply come apart. These galvanized kickstands are always kind of like a hassle because I feel like they grow. They get like a film on them and the tolerances get tighter on them. So I'm really cranking this thing to get it off. Let's get back to this once it's finished because it's taken a minute. I hope you could see those little metal flecks on that kickstand. Now, somebody at Giant or the bike shop that installed this thing certainly did not want it to come off. It looked like they had filed down the end of this bolt and caused this bolt to have to be like essentially rethreaded. So I had to like rethread this bolt. It's not focusing, but yeah, what a nightmare. That thing did not want to come off. Some things to note while I'm doing this: I'm not cleaning up the frame at all. I'm reusing the paint, or not the paint, the parts, and I am just putting everything back together roughly to know that it's going to work. Once I have everything back together and it feels like it's going to be a solid build, then I'll take apart the frame and thoroughly clean it, which will be another part of the video series that you will see. I just wanted to make sure I got this together and made sure everything fit together before I did that. So let this be a little bit of a lesson. The bottom bracket was not hand threading into the drive side. I was really worried because I thought it was stripped out, but after doing some research and just making sure that everything was straight, good, and I wasn't cross-threading it or possibly cross-threading it, I took out my breaker bar and I started threading it at the point of resistance, and now it feels like the bottom bracket's going in properly. It's going in straight, but there is some resistance in the threading. So if you do have this problem, just go ahead and make sure everything is lined up properly. You're not threading it the opposite way, which is counterclockwise, and that you're confident with this. If you're If you feel like you're threading or cross-threading or damaging the threads inside, you could actually check to make sure. You could see the metal kind of wearing away within the threads or on the surface of the bottom bracket, and that's a good way to check. But I wasn't getting any of those signs, so I just went ahead and grabbed the breaker bar, and that's how I'm installing this bottom bracket. And I guess some bottom brackets are just tougher than others. We are getting somewhere, and I apologize for the wind noise. It is very windy out here today, but it looks like something that is going to start looking cool. Now, disregard the mismatching colors and all the weird stuff going on. The actual crown race, I believe that's what it's called, the insert that goes right into where the headset bearing is, was missing, so I had to jumble through a bunch of parts to find one that worked. And this one does work, but it isn't a flush mount. There's actually there's a bit of a gap in there. You could see it there, and it just looks a little bit weird. It functions perfectly, but this top cap for the entire headset assembly is supposed to be just flush mounted to another riser, whereas this kind of a filleted top cap is meant to be flush mounted right to the top of the bearing and headset. But that's a different discussion. I had to find something to make it work, and also I figured out that the stem wasn't a 31.8 millimeter bar width or bar width or circumference. So I had to find another stem, which is a wake on wake bar and stem combo. Pretty cool, but the colors are awful right now. The moral of the story is the fact that if you get a bike like this, especially from the person that I bought it from, you're going to be expected to be tinkering and dealing with a lot of stuff that you might not deal with on another secondhand bike. Now, first of all, the huge indicator that this is going to be a lot of work is the fact that there is a set of 26-inch rims on the bike itself with just standard bolt-on rims, and the cassette didn't match. Everything was kind of like shoddy on the bike. So if you go and you're purchasing a bike for about $80 like I got this one for, and all that stuff is, you know, visually different than what you would see on a typical mountain bike, then just expect there to be other Easter eggs in there with like weird bearing headset spacers. The crown race was missing. I didn't actually feel that whenever I test rode it. They must have done something to wedge it and make it function a little bit like properly. But yeah, I'm gonna put the wheels on and put some pedals on, and then we'll be taking her for a roll, and we'll see what it looks like, how the geometry sits, and what the bike actually feels like before we break it back down again, repaint it, clean up all the parts, and finalize the project. Let's get into it. So this thing is actually looking really sick. It's really sunny out there, but let's go ahead and point it out to the so sunny. Look at the stance of that bike now. I mean, it looks pretty good, and it doesn't look too straight like it was before. It looked really forward and kind of just like a city getter sort of bike, but now it looks really cool. And let's see what it looks like with me riding it, just to get an idea of what it'll look like. I really like the bars on it, and not so much the seat, but I don't really have a great seat to put on it right now, so I'll have to order one, and then hopefully we'll get a good before and after of this, and then whenever it's painted. Alright, that pretty much wraps it up for today's build video. I successfully got the bike looking like this, and I'm pretty happy with the results of the geometry and everything, how this bike went together. I did take off the 3-ring chainring up front, so now it's ready for a single ring. And interesting enough, that chainring had like obviously removable bolts. It wasn't riveted, but the threading for the bolt was actually stamped into the bottom 2 chain rings. So yeah, it's kind of like a permanent thing. If you take those off, you can't really use one of the chain rings by itself. It's pretty much shot after that, but that's done. In the next video, we'll be stripping down the paint and making sure that it is paint spray paint ready. I'm not using any specialty paint like spray.bike. I'm just using Krylon paint. I want to show you how you could do this realistically without going and ordering a bunch of stuff. I know I ordered like all the stuff from Amazon, and I could have easily done the spray.bike paint that way, but you know, I use Krylon for most of my paint jobs, and I haven't had an issue, so I'm going to show you that in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe and go out there and create your own adventure however you can. Spread some positivity. See you later. Mahalo.